Hello, everybody. We're Nina and Arthur from Bajesdorp. And coming hour, we would love to tell you more about our project that we've been working on the last couple of 6 years. Arthur will tell a bit more about the Vrijkoop van Bajesdorp. Means
Yes.
like buying free.
Buying free the Bajesdorp. Comrade Nina, that's really that's what it is. We'd love to share the latest developments of Bajesdorp. The squad that some of you might know either from the festivals or the Focu or the concerts or the movie nights or the language cafe with the refugees or the sport events.
The beautiful garden.
And the beautiful garden, which is still up and running. So do drop by at HJE Winkelbachweg 46 to see the current Bajesdorp. But we're going to be sharing some information about the developments for the future of Bajesdorp.
Yes, because we are building our own building, and this has been a long process, but we're at a super exciting stage in which we're almost finalizing our financial construction so that we can actually start building. How we're going? The next hour we will discuss a bit how our process went, and we will do this by asking each other some questions. And to give a brief summary, we will tell a bit about the construction, like the thing, actually what Bajesdorp is, where we're coming from, and what our future plan was and which shape it took right now. And also about the group process, because it's a communal process in which we have a core team of 10 people who are in a lot of different work groups, trying to realize this huge project, because it is a huge project and new in its form, and this new shape, this kind of new form that we use to create the building. This is something that we will also talk a bit about. Yeah. Let's just give it a go.
Let's give it a go. Maybe before we start our mutual interview, I think we should. It would be nice to say the double purpose that we have with sharing the Bajesdorp project with all of you listeners, which is we hope we can inspire like-minded projects, because this project, which is about affordable housing, affordable workspaces for artists and activists, and we hope there will be more and more of these, and also we'll also be very happy to give support. If you get inspired, get in touch with us, and we happily share the knowledge and other resources that we have. Second purpose is that we also would love to ask for some support in the realization of our project, in the form of crowd lending, and what that is. I think we'll speak about that later.
Yeah, let's start with the beginning, because Bajesdorp is a place with a lot of heritage, and it's maybe nice if we can talk a bit about what this place, this free haven, what it actually is.
Yeah, it's a squat which is situated next to the former Belmer Bajes, the prison, near metro station Spaklerweg, and next to the prison there was housing for the prison guards. So these were the times that if you had a job at the prison, you would also get a house next to your work. But that became out of fashion. The people who were employed there did not necessarily all want to live in these houses. So a lot of these houses were empty, and they were squatted. This is about 25 years ago. and out of this grew a really nice squad community that organized all of these activities that we mentioned in the beginning. A big festival, language courses for refugees when the prison was turned into a refugee center, neighborhood sport events, the community garden. And that went well for a very long time because the owner of the houses never really tried, except for in the beginning, very actively to evict the squatters for a very long time. This was a squad left alone.
And it functioned a bit like a village also, right? That's where the name also comes from.
Yeah.
Bajes village. So you had these different houses, and people would come together at a sort communal place in the middle, and a lot of outdoor activities like festivals. It's a Bajesdorp festival. Maybe you know it. It's quite famous, we think.
It's really nice, and like hundreds of people would come every year, which was really a great and exciting time. Unfortunately, because of Corona, wasn't possible this year, but hopefully this is a tradition we can pick up again in better times. That would be really great.
So something changed.
Yes, that's true. At a certain point, the government decided to sell the entire land plot from the prison, and the squatters of Bajesdorp thought maybe this is an opportunity that we can make our current situation, which is great, but also fragile. Maybe now we can make it more permanent. So maybe we can find funding to buy our houses and the land that they're on, and to use also money to make the houses more sustainable, more energy efficient. But unfortunately,
so that's quite important, right? In this whole process, it really started out with this wicked dream of, okay, we have to leave our plot, but wait, isn't there a possibility that we, the people, can buy off our own land? If other people can do this, why can't we? And make a permanent spot of this village.
Yeah, exactly. And so to forever no longer have this threat above you that you might be evicted, and also this on a maybe more political level, this threat that this land plot will be turned into housing or other functions that are only for a financial elite. So can we keep this space accessible for everybody, regardless of their financial status? And also, can we do this in a sustainable way? That was already from the beginning always an important part of all the plans. They campaigned actively to make this happen. Unfortunately, it did not work out because the national government, wanted to sell the whole land plot only in one big sale, and that made it on such a large scale that this was not possible. But the fierce campaigning led to the provision that whichever real estate company was going to develop this new area would have to carve out a land plot for affordable working living space for artists and activists.
Yeah, so this was actually a kind of turning point in the project. So this is 7 years back, almost, I guess. And at that point, Bajesdorp was lobbying, saying we should have a place in this new quarter that's called het Bajeskwartier. It's behind the Amstel station.
They even took our name and went with it.
But then we found out that they already had the idea of putting a place or having a building that would work as a broedplaats, so creatives would work there, because everybody knows that if you put creatives in a neighborhood, things will flourish.
Yeah.
And so they had that in their written in their plan. And then Bajesdorp said like, hey, wait a sec. If you were already planning on doing this, then hello, we're a creative community. Talk to us. We're here. Talk to us. Why make a new building and have like a new community come in here if you can talk to us with our 15 years of heritage here? So I think this is also super interesting in how it works, that a lot of the times people, these new groups come in and they make beautiful plans, but they forget to look what's actually already present. And in our case, they decided to get into a conversation with us, and that was actually the start of this working together. With the vastgoedontwikkelaar.
Yeah, the real estate company.
Yeah, the real estate company.
Yeah. So they decided that exactly on the contours of where currently the Muiterij is situated, which is the socio-cultural center of Bajesdorp already for quite a while, and that used to be the house for the warden, the director of the prison. That exactly on these contours of the building, that would be the place where we could build a little tower with houses and ateliers and workspaces and a theater and some kind of bar, of course.
Yeah, so maybe this is also the right moment to tell a bit about which shape we decided to create after the idea of keeping the village, because at some point we realized keeping the houses wasn't a possibility, and we only got space to use the space that was already there of the Muiterij to start building there, to make like a small flat, actually.
A vertical village.
Yeah, we see it as a vertical village. And maybe we can tell a bit more about what we are dreaming of, what kind of place this could be.
You know, what is your favorite part of all the elements of the design? What would you like to start with?
Well, what I really love is that it's a combination between working and living. So you have a lot of broedplaatsen in the stad, so creative hubs that are not permanent, but also quite mono. And I love to believe that if you put ateliers where people would come in and come out working and maybe have their appointments next to the places where people live, and end of the day everybody can sit at the same table, maybe have dinner together, drink a glass of wine, that this is actually great for the creative process. And it's maybe also nice to note a lot of us are creatives. I'm a filmmaker, I make documentaries. And Arthur?
I'm a theater curator and dramaturg and accidental performer. Last time was actually, or one of the last times was here in the OT301 when I presented a work on the relationship between gentrification and art institutions. The somewhat fraught relationship, one could say. We are all artists and or activists.
This combination, and
very often a mixture of these activist artists or creative activists.
Yeah, so that's a bit the base of our group, of our 10 core people. Maybe nice to tell a bit more about the others also later on.
Mm-hmm.
But so this I really love this element that we can meet each other, and that also that artists can, because it's supposed to be permanent. Artists can really develop themselves in the building. So the building can become different shapes and forms because there's time and length. And for you?
Yeah, this is a really nice element. What you're saying, that is, I remember in our conversations with the architect that we asked for a building that would never be really finished, which I think elicited a bit of a sigh also from the architect. Oh, those damn artists with their conceptual dogmas. But I think if there's one thing we're not is dogmatic. I think also in a good Bajesdorp tradition. What I also really like is that that we will be surrounded by 2 gardens, one permaculture garden and one a bit more of a wild strolling garden with a little, hopefully a little outside theater, in a bit of a wild growing environment. So that's what I really like, that we're nicely tucked in between 2 gardens.
And not only tucked in between 2 gardens, right? We also get, there will be a high school next to us. So this is also one of the elements that I also really love about the project, is that it's supposed to have this open energy, so that I hope that the children from the neighborhood, from the school next to us, they will also come and come and go and talk with us about art, and maybe we can create together also. And that's really one of the promising elements of the idea that we have right now, that particularly the ground floor with its theater and a workshop space, that this makes it also possible for all the artistic work that happens inside all these ateliers, has also a local public element, that there's a way to share your work, to show your work, to get in touch about your work, for people to respond to it, so that it's, in that sense, hopefully will become a building that could not just be anywhere, but that it really has a quite particular place in its surroundings. Sometimes harmonious, and maybe sometimes also more critical, and in a dissonant way. And I think on the tension between harmonious and dissonant, we probably get to speak when we later will talk about the obstacles in realizing this process. At least I would really love to vent a bit about how extremely difficult it is.
All elements, but particularly the aesthetics of harmonious and or dissonant in relation to the entire neighborhood, which is going to be entirely designed from scratch. I would love to be a bit grumpy about that.
Maybe that's also nice as a topic to go to now, because what we wanted to tell you is that we had this dream. Well, the group who started out had this dream, and that's also interesting. This group has been working 7 years now, and of course it also changed form, because like we already said a bit, there's quite some challenges in a process like this, when you really can dream and have like a utopische
a fantasy, or
you can have a fantasy of what you would really love in the city, and you want to fight for it, then that's it. It's really a fight for this fantasy, and the group changed in shapes in the last couple of 7 years. Maybe we can tell a little tiny bit about our group now, and then we move on to the obstacles, and also really the fun things in creating something like this together.
Yeah, and maybe it would also be good to share something about the structure of how we organize. Also how we make sure that this is a strictly non-profit project, that we, all the people who live and work in the building, will basically rent from themselves or from all of us together, in a way, and there's no way that any profit leaks towards housing corporations or investors that make huge profits out of us. Although there will be some kind of public profit from those that participate in the crowdlending campaign, but that's a bit more about that. But I think that there's a quite intricate structure based on the German Mietshäuser Syndicaat. And there's a Dutch version of that, founded actually also by two members of our group. They are part of the founders of that Dutch version called VrijCoop. I think that's also good to share a bit about that.
Yeah, well, I think I can be quite brief about the group, but it's nice to know a bit what we consist of, like who we are. And so what I said before is we're a few of us are artists, and then we have some activists, and there are two, Femke and Martin. Maybe you know them. They have been living in Bajesdorp since since the beginning of this project, and they're actually they've seen a lot of changes in the group, but they are still here. And one of the things that people sometimes say when you start a project like this, you never see the finish line. But I think they're going. They're actually
they're in it for the long run.
Yeah, they're in it for the long run, and Then we, me for instance, I just joined a year ago together with a few others. I didn't. Maybe interesting. I knew Bajesdorp, but I didn't really know anything about the project until Arthur. I actually saw it on your Facebook page coming by, and then I thought, like, oh my God, this is so what I'm searching for. I've been having this dream of working on my being more, having more to say. In my own living situation, being an artist, it's quite difficult also to find like housing in Amsterdam. It's a big obstacles that a lot of people have to face. Me, fortunately, not at the moment, but this,
that's for a lot of artists and also many other people, of course, face this struggle.
Yeah. But also the thing of more of a holistic way of living.
Mm-hmm.
So these are my words. But with this holistic way, I mean that you you kind of act in a certain way, and it will result back into your work and result back into your living situation. And the things that we do in the garden can maybe also be the food on the plates. That's or the food that's not being used at a thing that Bajesdorp have been doing for a long time is reusing food that would otherwise be wasted. But also having a building that is sustainable in a way, so that everything kind of reacts on each other. For me, this was a very important element to join.
Mm-hmm. So you would say basically for you, joining the project is a way to tie together your artistic practice, your politics, and your daily life, and what goes, how you, where you sleep, what you eat,
and to be an activist in a different sort of way, by the things that I'm very critical about, to act upon those things and try to do it differently, to show that we can change our society and we can change the way that power works.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe in this collective way of working together without anybody making profits out of it, but that you live and work for the living and the working. So for me, this was Bajesdorp. Yeah. What was it for you?
For me, I got in touch through Martin, and this idea that you can translate what you believe in politically, in the sense of what you read in the newspaper and discuss with friends, that you can make this really concrete and almost like to prove that that there are many amazing and real alternatives, and that indeed there is such a thing as a society in which we could practice solidarity. Yes, so I really like the down to earth and real concrete aspect of it.
Yeah, so I think it's nice to kind of tell you guys a bit about why we chose it, because this is also the consistency of our group right now, that we have people who have been there right at the start and they're really the core of the project. But we also have people like me that kind of found the project and thought like, whoa, this is exactly what I'm searching for.
And if you're listening and you think I want to join this beautiful group, then very soon we will be we'll send out a new open call. So there's still some place for a few people to join us.
Yeah. Actually, at the moment we have 4 artists that are in we call it a click phase, and it's actually also maybe a nice bridge to the working groups. So at the moment we have 4 artists that are trying out if Bajesdorp is something for them, and they have 4 months to work with us together, seeing if they would maybe have their workspace at our building.
Yeah, it's a mutual get to know each other, which is especially in times of Corona, where we cannot have long live meetings. It's a really nice way to grow the group. Maybe before we get entirely off track, because you very well reminded me that we should really, you were trying to introduce the entire group. So maybe we should give some shout outs to all the other current members of the group. I think we haven't mentioned yet Marije Baalman, who is a sound artist and is also one of the co-founders of the VrijCoop organization, which helps to facilitate initiatives like these all over the Netherlands. And also she has been for a long time been involved with the Bajesdorp community and de Groene Gemeenschap, another great housing initiative in Amsterdam. And who else do we got? We got Simon and Selina, who are both fierce gardeners and sustainability activists, among other in causes dear to their heart.
Selina is a philosopher, and Simon is working at the university right now.
He's a physicist.
Yeah.
We have Lisa, who is a historian of the theater, and writes and researches a lot about colonialism and post-colonialism in the theater. This is her field, both academically and I would also say as an activist.
Barbara, you might know her from the Vondelbunker. She's a teacher, but a lot of her time is also spent in the Vondelbunker organizing events.
Events and all the places where she goes. Also a fierce instigator of debates on diversity and inclusivity. It was very dear to her heart. Bram, also involved in the Vondelbunker, very active in the poetry stage Perdu. So we can find him when the theaters are open again.
Who are we missing? The video? No.
No. We do. Yeah, we'll let you know. It would be terrible if we would miss someone from the scratch from the top of our mind. Simon, Celine,
Femke, Martin. Yeah, no, I think we're there.
We're there.
Yeah, and then we have some. Sorry. Then we have some great artists also working together with us. May Heek and Lotte van der Woude. Both. Lotte is a filmmaker, and May is into photography and works at Artes.
Yeah, and we've got Pablo Pincus. Just joined our click phase. An artist and how would you say uitvinder? An inventor.
Inventor
Inventor and builder.
And Anna.
and Anna, a filmmaker. Who we
Coming
are-
from
are-
Colombia, yeah.
we are getting to know.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so this is our group right now, but I think it's important to say that we're changing all the time also, and searching for new members. So watch our website. Yeah, maybe it's nice to tell a bit about this structure of how we work. So we have this 10 people that, well, I think I'm busy with Bajesdorp about 2 days a week, something like that.
Mhm.
It's there's a lot to be done because we're our own.
Yeah, because we are our own company.
Yeah.
We are our own real estate developers.
Yeah.
And
So that's maybe we should put an explanation mark there that we are our own real estate company.
No.
And that's just unknown in a way.
Yeah, and that also means that the procedures of the municipality and the procedures at banks, particularly Dutch banks, are not geared to it. So we definitely hope that as one of the pioneering projects in this field, currently in Amsterdam we also have the Warre and the Nieuwe Meent that are doing great work. And we hope that that not only we will learn a lot from this project, but that also all these other parties involved will learn a lot and will make it easier and easier for other initiatives to make something similar. Hopefully not exactly the same,
Yeah.
but something along the lines of.
Yeah, it's about growing together, right? Growing
Yeah.
together also with the municipality and with the bigger companies to because there isn't really one way to do this.
No, actually, there's no way to do this. So we have to create that way together. And there's always rules or procedures that make it more difficult. So that always requires a lot of time to how to change these rules or how to get around them. And for
Maybe
to get
we
this
can
work
make it a
done-
bit less abstract and
Mhm.
tell a bit about what kind of rules we face and how we deal with these kind of rules.
Yeah. I think, for example, the financing, a project like this, currently it's not possible for Dutch with a Dutch bank to get a mortgage as a collective or as a vereniging, as an association.
Yeah, so ASN or Triodos or they're
Name them and
not-
shame them because
they're not
they
there
should,
yet.
but
Yeah.
they're not there yet. So for financing, we are talking to a German cooperative bank, the GLS Bank, which is also a collectively owned bank. Like there used to be one in the Netherlands, and they do give out mortgages for collectives, but we did invest a lot of time in trying to get the Dutch banks there as well, because we happen to be blessed with 3 members in the group that have German as their native language. But of course, having to translate all these documents, all your budget projections, and all the conversations you need to have with the bank to have to do all of that in German, it's quite an obstacle and will make it quite difficult for like-minded projects if we all have to work with German banks. That's just an extra hurdle, and it's not impossible to do this, but there are already so many hurdles. So if we can take a few of them out, that would be great. Well, with this one, although we spent a lot of time on it, we're not there yet.
Yeah, but we came along.
We came a long way, and I do have the feeling that, I know that we are being closely followed, and we are also still in conversation with Dutch banks, because they just need to learn.
And I think that the Dutch banks also are seeing that they have to change their policies because times are changing, and more of these projects will come. I'm sure of
Yeah.
it. So by discussing this with them, it's also a way of making them more aware of like, okay, there are the boundaries that you are putting us for. I don't know if that's correct English. They are, maybe you have to rethink them, because there will be there is a need right now, and people know that there is a need, and they will act upon it, and they will want to have more collective ownership. Yeah,
and if you want to join that movement, the time is now. The Amsterdam municipality wants to make this happen. Sometimes, in spite of their all current rules, they're looking for ways to make new policies. So I would say this is the time. And I think maybe now that we're talking about finance and how to get around it would be maybe a good time to play the video, because it both explains a bit of the financial structure of the project and also something about the legal structure of the project. So let's hear it.
Stel je voor dat er in Amsterdam vrije ruimte zou zijn. Voor mensen die grote dromen hebben, maar geen grote portemonnee. Die ruimte komt er. Want wij kopen Bajesdorp vrij. Help je mee? Achter de Bijlmer Bajes veranderen we de plek waar we al 15 jaar wonen en werken in een nieuwe duurzame, maar vooral permanente vrijplaats. Een plek met een sociale functie voor de buurt. Met een concertzaal, een theater, een café, een grote publieke tuin en maar liefst 20 betaalbare woon- en werkplekken voor kunstenaars en activisten. Via een hypotheek en een klein beetje hulp van de gemeente Amsterdam hebben wij al 2 miljoen euro bij elkaar. Maar we komen nog 600.000 euro tekort. En daarbij hebben we jouw hulp nodig. Maar daar krijg je wel wat voor terug. Hoe het werkt. Voor 250 euro koop je een obligatie, een soort lening, waar je er meerdere van kunt kopen. Die je voor minimaal 5 jaar vastzet, maar waar je jaarlijks 1,7 tot 2,5% rente over ontvangt. Dit is een stuk meer dan je krijgt op je bank. En je investeert niet, zoals veel banken, in fossiele energie of de wapenindustrie, maar in een mooier, leuker, creatiever en betaalbaarder Amsterdam. Van het nieuwe pand dat wij hier duurzaam gaan bouwen, worden wij niet de eigenaar. Niemand wordt de eigenaar. En hiermee zijn wij aan het pionieren in Amsterdam. Hoe die juridische constructie werkt of wat je risico's zijn, kan je lezen op de website. Maar je bent natuurlijk ook welkom op de wekelijkse Volkskeuken. Samen laten we zien dat het ook anders kan. Doe je mee?
Yeah, so that's our crowdlending video, because we're crowdlending this project for a part. So what we arranged with the GLS is that they will give us a mortgage of 1.5 million to start this big project. And then we have some subsidies also from the municipality. But of course, because it's a communal project, for us it was super important that part of the finances would also be carried by a bigger group, that we would also know that there's a group in Amsterdam that wants to support these kind of projects and to kind of be the owner. So we don't have one owner, but this way you can, you or somebody else, by creating space for others to invest, and they can also have a bit of ownership over this project. So that was super important for us, and that's where we're at now. So we still have to fund about 600,000 euros. And within a month we will launch the crowd lending. And lending. So crowdfunding you maybe heard about, but crowd lending, it's kind of a term that we made up ourselves a bit, because people won't invest. Well, they won't just give money to the project, but you will invest in the project. So by buying off bonds, you get a bit of interest with it, and you can put your savings your a bit of money that you maybe have still left on your bank account, especially after Corona.
Mhm.
You can save it in our and put it in our building.
Yeah.
So that's why lending.
And definitely, we of course will always make the pitch that on these bonds you will get more interest than you will have on your savings account. But I would say for me, it was actually through this project that I learned what bonds are, what obligaties, what they really are. I always associated. I thought of always of the stock market, and therefore automatically of capitalism and some form of evil. But also, I just didn't really know anything about it. And what I like about this is that there's maybe also a leftist way of investing. That investing is not necessarily a dirty word. Also, if it's in financial terms, there's good things you can do with your money if you happen to have it laying around. So that is one of the many things that I learned from doing this project, which is also really nice about doing a project like this, that you learn a lot about regulations in terms of design and urban planning, and of how legal structures work, how bonds work, etc. So that is really a very interesting aspect of being involved in a project like this.
Yeah, and I think before we tell a bit more about the crowd lending, it's nice to tell a bit about this kind of ownership, right? We're actually using a model that's quite known in Germany, Miethauser Syndicaat, and that's also a reason why the GLS Bank wanted to invest in us, because what we are doing here, we're maybe pioneering in Amsterdam, but what we are doing is actually quite common and has been quite common in Germany, with about 180 projects alike that have been successful.
Yeah, it's even so that of course the GLS Bank also does this because of their ideals. They're a cooperatively owned ethical bank. But they have also learned through doing these projects that also from a business point of view, this is less risk for them than with a regular personal mortgage. So they offer even a slightly lower interest rate than you would get on a personal mortgage. Whereas currently Dutch banks say, no, this project looks like a business venture, so you get a 10-year loan and the interest would be more than double of what we would get at a mortgage. So they are a bit more familiar with the structure. And the structure sounds a bit complicated. Shall I do a brief attempt to recapitulate? Because there's going to be several legal entities involved. One legal entity is the vereniging, the association of all the people who are living and working in the building, the renters of the building. They form an association. There is another legal entity that already exists. This is the organization VrijCoop, which in itself is also an association of which Bajesdorp is one of the members. And together they form a third entity, which is the real estate association. And that has two members, which is the Vrijkoop Association and the Bajesdorp Association. And this third entity with two members, they will legally own the building. The day-to-day running of that building and of that organization is done by the people who live and work in the building. This is autonomy, do it yourself. And Vrijkoop is there also, of course, as a group of support that gives advice. Some of them are already a bit further than we are, and some of them are a bit earlier in the process. But they also have a very important form to guard the ideals of the project. So they would make it impossible, suppose all people living and working in the building get old and bitter and disappointed, and they leave all their leftist ideals behind, and they think, oh, we have this building in the middle of Amsterdam, why don't we try to sell it and make a huge profit and then we can retire? If that would happen, then the association Vrijkoop, which is filled with all these other housing activists, they can block that. They would block that development and would say, no, this is not why we started this whole project. So that will be forever impossible. We are even protected against ourselves in that sense.
Yeah, so this is exactly where the permanent and that it's
non-profit.
Non-profit and collectively owned. This is where it comes from this model.
And we take it off the market. So we call it vrijkopen to bail out. And this piece of Amsterdam will not be part of the crazy so-called free market. We will keep it in collectively owned, solidarity-based ownership.
Yeah, and what's actually also a nice kind of asset that we thought of is that if we bought off our property, all the money that would come in by the rent, because we will all be renting of ourselves, this will be put into a fund. We're actually also a fund, and we try to organize, or with this fund, we will create more of these kind of projects in the future. So this, I think, because we're almost wrapping up, it's that's actually our main goal, is that we're just trying to pave the way. And if you feel like you have a project or a dream of something that you want to realize from like down,
from bottom up, first idea,
exactly, then there are ways, and this is what we want to show also with Bajesdorp, to be a knowledge center for people to see how they can realize their own building.
Yeah, exactly. In the way how we also benefit from the knowledge and experience by predecessors in both in Germany and in the Netherlands, such as Ecodorp Boekel, that are really in the final stages of building.
Projects, yeah. And also part of VrijCoop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's so much more to discuss, so much more things that we wanted to tell you. But the only thing that I can add now is that we have a lot of information online. If you go to www.bajesdorp.nl and if you click on the Vrijkoop van Bajesdorp, you will see everything about our the crowdlending that will start this month. So if you know somebody who wants to make some impact with their money, and has some savings, then please go and invest in Bajesdorp.
Yeah. And to all of you involved in the initiatives that are already up and running for a long time, and who maybe have, in that sense, a collective savings account as a former squad, maybe, we will definitely come knocking on your door and ask if you, as a fellow initiative, with squad and activist and artistic history, if you can support us in making this happen.
Yeah, because we're very close, but not yet. So, okay, thank you for listening.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.